Welcome to Guides, English Language and Literature. This is part 2 of our language and Macbeth analysis, where we focus on how different characters use language throughout the play. If you haven't seen part 1, make sure to check it out for an overview of Shakespeare's language techniques in Macbeth. Now, let's dive into how each character's language reflects their journey, personality, and fate. Macbeth. Macbeth's speech evolves dramatically across the play, mirroring his ambition, paranoia, and eventual downfall. Act 1. Ambitious but hesitant. At first, Macbeth is uncertain but tempted by power. He speaks in paradoxes and imagery of fate and concealment. His line about the day being both foul and fair reflects the play's theme of contradiction. Act 2. Guilt-ridden and hallucinatory. Here, Macbeth's guilt takes control. His language becomes more vivid and dreamlike, full of hallucinations and fear. The infamous dagger scene is a prime example. His mind plays tricks on him before he commits murder. Act 3. Paranoid and controlling. Macbeth's speech grows darker and more manipulative. He speaks in metaphors and short, forceful statements, showing his increasing paranoia. His mind is full of scorpions, revealing his inner torment. Act 4. Tyrannical and overconfident. At this stage, Macbeth is completely ruthless. He gives commands and threats without hesitation, believing himself invincible. His speech is blunt and authoritative, showing his descent into tyranny. Act 5. Nihilistic and desperate. Nearing his downfall, Macbeth's tone becomes bleak and existential. He sees life as meaningless, comparing it to a walking shadow and a poor player on a stage. His final moments are filled with desperation, but he fights to the end. Lady Macbeth. Lady Macbeth's language is powerful, manipulative, and ultimately broken by guilt. At first, she is ruthless and commanding, using imperatives like come, use spirits to summon supernatural strength. She pushes Macbeth forward with bold persuasion, dismissing his doubts. As the play progresses, she tries to maintain control, but grows frustrated as Macbeth takes charge. She speaks in short, dismissive phrases to keep him focused. Eventually, guilt destroys her. Her speech becomes fragmented and disjointed. She hallucinates and repeats phrases like out, damned spot, a sign of her crumbling sanity. The Three Witches. The witches' language is key to their mystical and manipulative nature. In Act 1, they speak in rhymed Trochaic Tetrameter. Unlike normal speech, where we stress every second syllable like a heartbeat, Trochaic Tetrameter stresses every first syllable, dee-dum, dee-dum. This gives their speech a chant-like, unnatural quality. In Act 3, Hecate, their leader, speaks in Iambic Pentameter, the typical rhythm of noble characters. This sets her apart from the witches and makes her sound more authoritative. By Act 4, they return to spell-like chanting, misleading Macbeth with paradoxical prophecies. Though absent in Act 5, their influence remains as Macbeth's fate unfolds exactly as they predicted. Banquo. Banquo's speech reflects his wisdom and morality. In Act 1, he is skeptical of the witches, but also intrigued. His lines use metaphors and imagery to warn that the instruments of darkness may tell half-truths. In Act 2, he remains loyal but uneasy, his speech calm and measured. By Act 3, Banquo grows more suspicious of Macbeth, but is ultimately killed. His last words show his selflessness as he urges his son to flee. Macduff. Macduff's language is straightforward and emotional, reflecting his honesty and grief. In Act 2, he reacts to Duncan's murder with horror, using exclamations and repetition. In Act 4, after learning of his family's slaughter, his speech becomes raw and grief-stricken. He uses rhetorical questions to express disbelief before shifting to a vengeful, determined tone. In Act 5, he speaks in short, powerful sentences, confronting Macbeth as a heroic force of justice. His dramatic reveal about his birth destroys Macbeth's confidence. Malcolm. Malcolm's speech reflects his growth from a cautious prince to a strong leader. In Act 2, he speaks carefully, showing his distrust of appearances. In Act 4, he tests Macduff's loyalty by pretending to be corrupt. His language shifts from exaggerated self-criticism to a confident and noble tone once trust is established. In Act 5, Malcolm speaks directly and authoritatively, rallying his forces with military and justice-driven rhetoric. Duncan's speech is formal and trusting, reflecting his kind nature but also his naivete. In Act 1, his gracious and admiring words show his love for loyalty. His misplaced trust in Macbeth is laden with dramatic irony, as he unknowingly repeats past mistakes. In Act 2, his death is described using religious imagery, emphasizing the unnatural horror of regicide. Minor characters. The Porter provides dark comedy, speaking in prose rather than verse to mock the unfolding chaos. Lennox and Ross use understated irony, subtly criticizing Macbeth's rule. The murderers speak in short, blunt sentences, reflecting their ruthless nature. Young Seward is brave and noble, refusing to back down against Macbeth. Seward, his father, values honor over grief, showing his stoic and dutiful nature. Shakespeare's use of language in Macbeth reveals each character's ambitions, fears, and transformations. From the chant-like rhythms of the witches to Macbeth's crumbling verse, the play's speech patterns shape its themes of fate, power, and guilt. If you found this analysis helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out Part 1 for a broader look at Shakespeare's language in Macbeth. See you in the next video.